taking a step back here, Fidelity, BlackRock, Bitwise, they've been selling products forever. They're great at selling products. And what they're going to do for really Bitcoin and Ethereum is position them in the marketing in a way that is digestible, so it can be apples to apples to other products they additionally sell. That doesn't happen overnight, but this is examples of they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're doing the analysis, and they can make a lot of money off these products. And if they can, they are going to, and that helps all of us.
And Fidelity actually recommends a 3% digital asset allocation to their investors' portfolio, which is amazing. I never thought that we would have seen one of the biggest brokerages in the world recommending that their clients actually buy these assets. Really cool. All right, welcome back to another AB Research Update. It is September 26th, and I'm going to say it. A lot happened this week.
He said it. It's true.
Sure did. But let's get into some charts, man. I want to see that Bitcoin. I want to see that ETH. I know we have big things coming. The market's heating up a little bit. What do we have here? The Bitcoin chart. It's looking pretty good. What do you think, guys?
I want to see that Bitcoin. Show me that Bitcoin. Let's see. What's the activity doing here? I don't even pay attention to Bitcoin. It's boomer tech, so someone else is gonna have to jump in.
Is Bitcoin like Venmo?
I think it's more like PayPal.
Looks like a giant bull flag just coiling up, getting ready for a big move. That's what I'm seeing here. I mean, when are we going to have Bitcoin crossing over 70, 80K? I think it's coming soon.
Yeah, you gotta love how crypto just has really respects TA so much that it bounced almost perfectly off the fib levels a few times consistently. It's pretty impressive, honestly.
Hey, Mark, can you add some context into what you just said about Bitcoin being boomer tech?
You're gonna get me killed here. Yeah, well, I'm about to look at 4 charts at the same time that are explaining some very ridiculous zero fundamental having meme technology, right? So I can't really be speaking, but the joke is, I mean, we love Bitcoin. Bitcoin is obviously, the pure, holy founder of the entire industry. But at the same time, we are investors, right? We're following the money. We're following the highest returns. And I think that if you really look into a much deeper fundamental level of everything going on in the Bitcoin ecosystem, as our whole team has been doing for the past 8 years, there's a lot of struggles there, and there is a lot of slower moving just because of the nature of the extreme vow to decentralization. Things move a lot slower. The tech gets upgraded a lot slower, and there's just a lot more kind of, in our opinion, impressive and likely more growth potential in the faster moving Ethereum ecosystem, along with, Solana ecosystems and a lot of other ecosystems. So Bitcoin is really some ancient technology if you're within our industry as deep as you are, but if you're outside of our industry and you're still buying bonds and real estate and stocks, then, Bitcoin is as much the future as any of this other stuff.
So you mentioned Ethereum. Are you bullish on Ethereum, Mark? Is that what I'm hearing here?
Yeah, Ethereum. Have you heard of this? Have you seen this thing, Ethereum? So I'm definitely pretty bullish on Ethereum. If you, Monty, if you want to zoom out, maybe even give us the monthly view of things. I like to really take a big picture look at everything, right? And our AB research guy, he's got all these crazy pivot levels. Turn this off for a sec if you want to just let's pretend our viewers are simplified audience. I mean, it's good to take a look at the bigger picture of things, right? This is a monthly chart. Every single candle is 1 month. And what you will start to see a lot is fractals, right? Repetition of history. So if you look at maybe the left side of this chart, and we don't have to right now, but if you were to zoom in, right, you guys can do this on your own time. If you zoom in, there's these things happening called cycles, right? If you look at the history of ETH from from inception, from 2015 through the 2016 run up to 2020, and then you kind of take certain parts of it and you look again, you will see a lot of history repeating itself. So in my opinion, right now the levels that we're looking at have been the lower level of about 2,000, 2,100, right? You can see, like, imagine a vertical line going there. And, again, TA is somewhat of a science, somewhat of an art, right? When you see people, we're big horizontal guys. I like Ivan on Tech was saying he's a horizontal guy. I'm not a diagonal guy. I don't like to draw diagonal lines on the charts. I think when you see charts with those diagonal lines, it's too much assumption where things can go. But this is, tomato, tomato, draw what you like, infer what you can. But I think really some big levels on the low side we're looking at is 2,100, and on the upside, I'm seeing resistance at 3,000. We're seeing resistance at 3,800, and then of course 4,800 all-time high. So I think it's a good time to be in ETH, and there's a lot of other coins that I want to talk about too. If you move over to Dex Screener, unless anyone has any thoughts on ETH that you wanted to spit out.
No, I think ETH is dope, of course, bullish on ETH, but really excited about what's happening on the L2s, especially with the ETH fees being so high. They're still high. They've been saying they're going to come down for years. So L2s are really taking the spotlight, I think, where a lot of trading is going down, meme coins are going down, and that's been a major change that happened in the last year or so.
All right, let's get into the juicy stuff here. I believe these are our 4 biggest altcoin holdings now. Clap it up for these right here. It's so outside of Ethereum and our ETH, which is our preferred staking venue for Ethereum, we have 4 big altcoin plays, and we can talk about them. First one is Aerodrome, and first off, shouts out to Dex Screener, one of the best tools on the internet. If you're a weird crypto guy like us, you like watching the money, this is a free tool that you can do an incredible amount of things, including play with and learn about charts. So
we are not sponsored. We are not sponsored.
Yeah, we're not sponsored by anyone. Yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, not except for itslit.org. But we really just share tools that can help you guys, right? So I want to be clear about that. Like, all the tools that we're sharing are just the best free tools in the industry that we think can help make people some money and earn people some value. So, of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all educational. Aerodrome is up first, right? We're seeing a big breakout right now, going upwards above this recent level, right? You want to look for where the previous highs were, right? So I'm seeing a big candle closing right below 105 where we just were. So, that means we don't have much. I'm not seeing much resistance there until maybe 120 and then until after that, upwards of $2. You can also switch to market cap, Monty, if you want to just at the top right of the mini chart, click
And
market.
Mark, while Monty's doing that, can you just give a quick 1 sentence about what Aerodrome is?
Yeah, Aerodrome is the biggest revenue generating application on Base. Base is the layer 2 layer of Ethereum built by Coinbase. That is essentially the scalability layer on Ethereum. That's going to help Ethereum work a lot faster. And Aerodrome is generating so much revenue because it's a central liquidity hub, right? It's almost like, I don't want to say bank, but it's almost a combination of a DEX, a decentralized exchange, with some really interesting mechanics on incentivizing liquidity and LPing. And LPing, in this sense, is not for limited partners. It is for liquidity providers, which is really interesting. AERO is really focused on incentivizing a ton of liquidity and protocols to all, essentially use their platform and vote together. I know Dylan is very deep in the AERO world. Dylan, do you want to add anything about why you think AERO is so genius?
Yeah, I'm super bullish on AERO. AERO's a DeFi application, so it's not collateralized lending like we were just talking about, but it's definitely the biggest DeFi application on Coinbase's blockchain. And that says enough right there, that it's the biggest DeFi on Base. And I think it's genius how they've taken a traditional DEX like Uniswap and sort of built on top of that infrastructure to add a reward system with their AERO token. So I have over 80% of my AERO locked for 4 years, and I'm actually using that to get a yield in real time. So it pays out every week, something to look into. Great token, and highly recommend checking out the docs and getting some AERO.
Yeah, I read AERO's docs again as we put our fund a little bit more into it, and very well written. Shouts out to their team. Over to the right, we got Mr. Miggles, of course. If you don't know about Mr. Miggles, you must be under a rock. This is also a pretty low coin. You could see 33 mil market cap. It's important, if you guys don't know, you should be looking at market caps, not prices. That's a rookie mistake. That's essentially the total amount of money that the project is worth. Miggles speaks for itself. We'll just watch that one fly into blue skies.
So I have a question for you, Mark. It's 33 million right now. We were talking about it earlier this week when I was at 20 million. This is obviously a pretty new meme coin, sub 50 million. So it's early enough. Like, how the fuck do you find this?
Digging under deep rocks. I get one dedicated day a week where I get to ignore everyone in the world and do nothing but research. And that's just lifting up rocks and finding random crazy discoveries. I think this one came across. It's always some dumb thing like you're on TikTok and someone says, "Is Mr. Miggles the next big coin at a base?" And sometimes it's that, sometimes it's using all these different tools like Inflows we went over before, looking at gainers, losers on CoinGecko. I mean, it's really just being curious, finding rabbit holes. And then once you see some things that connect, like, when I saw that Coinbase essentially made a YouTube video about Mr. Miggles, on their own sponsored, their official YouTube. This is the same Coinbase that is putting out Super Bowl commercials, getting tens of millions of views, yet at the same time on certain videos they only have a couple hundred views, and to me that's just a huge discrepancy, a huge attention arbitrage. I think it doesn't make sense that no one is really focused on this yet. So yeah, the answer would really just be turning under rocks and then knowing what to go with.
Well, it's so interesting, and I just want to add something really quickly on culture. Obviously, meme culture is such a big part of the crypto and digital asset world. And one of the big questions always comes to mind of how do you value a meme coin or a joke, really? Yeah. And I love what you said, Mark, about attention arbitrage. And when you look at something like Mr. Miggles, which has a $33.56 million market cap and is a meme, what we're looking for is this something that is going to be talked about in the future? And I think the fact that you pointed out things like Coinbase is behind it, and Coinbase values it and already made a commercial about it. And once people start to move into the Base ecosystem, will this have a reaction like other meme coins have had? Whether you look at the Solana meme coins or Dogecoin is the original and probably GOAT or OG more accurately. So it's really interesting, and I like what you picked here with Miggles. Obviously, with Base has other meme coins, so we'll keep an eye on what all that looks like moving forward.
Yeah. Speaking of under a rock, how about BSWAP popping out from under a rock?
Yeah, BSWAP is growing crazy. Last thing on Miggles too. I mean, if you got to compare it to other memes, right? Like I know you can go on CoinGecko and sort by memes, right, of the industry. When you see things like Dogecoin at $17 billion market cap, right, or you see things like WIF, these other coins who are at hundreds of millions of dollars, even Brett on Base. Being 100 times larger than some of these ideas, yet we have actual Coinbase backing one. It's like, to me, it's a no-brainer. Of course, it is a meme, right? There's much less fundamentals there. and you have to adjust your risk. We're not risking nearly the same amount that we're risking into other bigger fundamental plays like optimism and ETH. But anyways, let's talk about BSWAP, which is another one shooting up from under a rock. I mean, the chart on this weekly looks very nice. Like either the devs died or it's about to pump. I think that BSWAP is, the second. I believe it actually might be the third now after Alien Base, but it's one of the basically top 3 dexes, native dexes on Base. That's not like a Uniswap or PancakeSwap carried over. Aerodrome is the first, which is at around a $1 billion market cap valuation, versus BSWAP is down at like a, this chart
I think it's a little higher than this.
Yeah, this might be just for this pool. But the BSWAP is maybe at about a 2 million valuation, right? Which is, making next to no sense for me as well. I think if we pull up DeFi Llama, over to the right, you can see on Base, we have all of the applications on Base and what fees they're generating. And you can see here, right, one of the top ones is Aerodrome, right? At least for cumulative fees, we're at 48 million, right? And 5 million in the past 30 days. And then you scroll down to BSWAP, which is on the same list, which is at a cumulative of 1.9 million. Oh, you missed it. It's up more. It's up more. There, it's right about in the middle. So 2 million cumulative fees on this and about 50 million on Aerodrome. I mean, basic math would be, okay, that's a 25x. So then, this is just one comparison you could make. Of course, there's a lot of different factors, but all these factors start to line up, right? It's like, okay, well then maybe should Base be, 25? Should AERO be 25 times bigger than BSWAP, right? Well, it's not. It's like, a few hundred times bigger. So then either BSWAP is undervalued or AERO is overvalued. And as we already spent 5 minutes talking about, we think AERO is also undervalued. I just think there's huge, arbitrage here, like not in the traditional sense, but just many things on this brand new ecosystem, I think are undervalued and not making, just crazily misvalued.
Yeah, I'm bullish on BaseSwap too. I think they have a solid team. They've been delivering, improving the platform, and the token has some interesting tokenomics for sure. I have BaseSwap locked up too, and I'm staking and yield farming on there. So another good DeFi app to check out. So did you want to talk about the OP chart before we move the next?
Yeah, Monty asked that he's actually.
Do you want to go on Dex Screener?
He's an anti-LP. He's a Polygon maxi, so he didn't want us to talk about OP at all. Now you're good. You don't have to go back up. What do we got here? Research team?
One thing that happened this week is we released a new long form article. We try to do this monthly. This one's focused on DeFi. And if there's one thing to kind of take away from this article, I'd say it's highlighted here. DeFi has some unique characteristics that make it pretty attractive in a world where rates have started to go down, that we think that there could be higher interest rates with less risk.
Okay, I actually have a question off the jump about this. First off, this is a really good piece, and I've been loving these special editions. Typically our whole research team collaborates to put together, a very decentralized research update. But, Whitetail here, Mr. Monty, our head of research, has been putting out these special edition pieces that are just more focused on one specific topic at a time and digging really in depth into them. My question about this must have been something from your old TradFi world, but like the sentence that you highlighted, Monty, what was, okay, by requiring custody of the collateral, DeFi has become the senior secured creditor on any loan it provides. My question is, what is a senior secured creditor?
Yeah, it's the first person to get paid out if the loan goes south. So a lot of times and when you say secured, it's usually secured by some asset. So when we say senior secured here, DeFi takes in whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, really a variety of assets that if the loan goes poorly, it liquidates those particular assets versus just being a typical creditor like a lot of other entities would be in a traditional bankruptcy process.
Right. And I saw you made the point that it would, because of these now, DeFi applications that are over collateralized, it wouldn't make sense for people to not go to those because they have, typically more collateral there than all of the other places that they would have been borrowing from, right?
Yes, that even when most of the time, yes, but if it drops pretty quickly, it's better that the DeFi protocol is also baked in, that it can just liquidate it immediately, and it's there's parameters set around that. And I think a good example is kind of the Archegos example, the situation a few years ago where Rich Handler was in charge at Jefferies, so he liquidated all the positions. Other banks like Credit Suisse, UBS, they really had committees where they didn't understand what they should do in that situation, and because of that, they lost billions of dollars. There was no clear person in charge or kind of rules to follow, and when DeFi has those rules, that really help preserve capital.
Hey Monty, this article is called Trust Assumptions. Can you give a one-word summary of what readers would take away from this article?
That in the traditional finance, there are some trust assumptions that people might not think about, and those definitely impact your day-to-day life. And the kind of DeFi world is being built in a way that helps eliminate those trust assumptions.
Monty, I love this article. I mean, I think these AB pieces, the long form content, is one of the greatest ways to research and learn about crypto. And I know we're going to be talking more about DeFi later today. We've got some cool apps in DeFi working on L2s and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's good to hop in here and really look at kind of the changing tide. Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum ETFs are probably one of the best metrics heading into Q4 about really TradFi's sentiment on crypto. I still can't get over the fact that there's $60 billion in 3 quarters coming into Bitcoin ETFs. These have to be some, I know it's number one, but I wonder out of number 1, 2, 3, 4, how many of the top 10 ETFs launched of all time are Bitcoin ETFs? I don't know if you guys want to add anything here, but this is just great to see. They're definitely buying more Bitcoin than being produced every day. And when they're buying our bags, it's always a good thing.
Yeah, and we'll get into this more. I know we hit this a couple times throughout this entire podcast or episode, but when institutions and governments and other players start to buy Bitcoin as long-term holders, and there's less available supply on exchanges for sale, then that is really what drives price action in a positive way. So very exciting.
I think that's what we're talking about next, actually, is how some entities, countries, all different kinds of organizations are actually putting Bitcoin in their treasuries now.
Yeah, the big news, or one of the big news this past week, it was Bhutan.
We got a new country.
Yeah, it's really impressive how this was actually known to some people within the industry because they set up all these mine operations, but it's just there's a lot of bad data or just unknown stuff where you can generate alpha knowing this, and they jump from not really being known about to owning more than El Salvador, and El Salvador gets all the news. I mean, this is game theory happening before our eyes, so I love this.
I read that Bhutan has 1/3 of their entire GDP in Bitcoin now.
Bhutan, babe, wake up! Bhutan just bought Bitcoin. Yeah.
Well, they're actually not buying it. It's important to say here they're mining it. They're using their like hydropower from the Himalayas or whatever. This is a country near China. It's actually a closed country, so you can't visit if you want to. But they're using their excess natural resources to just print cash. I mean, just talk about kind of a G move.
That's going to be one day that's going to be realized as one of the best ways to use excess energy, and nobody's really tapped into it right now.
Agreed.
But yeah, that's really cool. Did you want to talk about the Ethereum ETF inflows at all?
Yeah, I mean, so we just touched on this real quick. Ethereum definitely not had the same excitement Bitcoin has had, but ETF flows are starting to be positive, so it's always good to see. Summer lulls kind of ended. That's more of a TradFi thing than, well, crypto has it as well, but definitely a TradFi thing. So just these two, Hill Dobby produces great Dune dashboards. Anyone can go look at these. Great to kind of track, not every day, but week to week, month to month, to make sure kind of the flows are going in the right direction.
One quick comment on the Ethereum ETF inflows. A lot of the ETFs that have been created around Ethereum, those people that are selling them are having trouble selling ETH, not because Ethereum's not exciting or worth buying, but more because they don't know how to speak about it yet. One of the things that I watched last week was the BlackRock head of digital assets, I think it's Robbie Mitchnick, went on the Bankless podcast and talked about how he's talking about digital assets to institutional investors like pension funds, sovereign funds, all these different groups that have an incredible amount of money. And originally they're selling Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has been the most popular. They're still trying to figure out how to sell ETH. They're still figuring out how to talk about it, how to describe it. So I think once people have an easier time describing it, and Mark, you often cite Ethereum as the blockchain app store, or as kind of the place where all of these different applications and networks can be built on top of the Ethereum network. I think once that starts happening, and once people start realizing what Ethereum is, I think it'll be a really exciting play for these institutions that are driving the Bitcoin ETF so much.
Well said. Well said.
So I think next up we have someone buying Bitcoin, a name that you've probably heard unless you're living under the rock where BSWAP and Miggles are. Now, this guy never stops buying Bitcoin.
I mean, talk about playing the long game. This is honestly super impressive. Just to kind of give you an overview of what happens here is MicroStrategy as a company trades at a premium to its underlying Bitcoin holdings. So what Michael Saylor does is repeatedly issues, whether it's debt or equity, to buy more Bitcoin, and then it continues to trade at a premium. And it's just a vicious cycle that has been working for like 4 years now. And I mean, he literally himself, I'm sure, owns over $1 billion in Bitcoin, and it's
on the infinite money glitch.
Yeah, I mean, God, it's so impressive, honestly. And people were saying it was a dumb move early on, but you just have to respect kind of innovators like this.
Babe, wake up. Infinite money glitch just dropped.
Yeah. He made a bold bet, and it's looking like it's going to pay off big.
So how much are they the biggest are they the biggest public company holding Bitcoin, or they're the biggest? Because I mean the US government has more Bitcoin than them, right? Maybe was that on that last chart that you just had up? Or
yeah, but it wasn't organized by it.
Okay.
I could go to it and see. I mean, I'd say it's the BlackRock ETF has the most, and then probably the US government, and then Grayscale, and then the MicroStrategies if I had to guess, but those are probably the top 4.
Right on. Good for Michael Saylor, man. He's got some massive cojones. I remember back when we were in Chinatown, Dylan, in 2020, and the world was closed, I was listening to him. He was buying at 28,000 and 35,000, and that's when that was high, right? That was like when those numbers were, for the first time being reached, and could definitely go lower, and it did. So, yeah.
I mean, you also have to look at the interest rate on, obviously it's a convertible note, but like he's paying nothing, which means there's a lot of demand for this. So it's just overall just super impressive. And continuing to talk about impressive stuff, stablecoin metrics are through the roof. This is one of the best metrics to track in all of crypto, in my opinion, that along with developers. But if stable coins are going up, generally people are making money.
And why do you think that is?
That stable coins are going up right now?
Well, why do you think it's, elaborate more on why is it important to follow stablecoin activity?
Well, stablecoins represent dollars on chain. So stablecoins are a good proxy in my mind for economic activity on chain. Some people might use transaction volume and stuff like that, but that can be wash trading. This is more just like literally every single dollar that's shown here is backed by US dollar somewhere, and now it's on chain. And that's just I think, a very hard metric to manipulate.
Yeah, and let's look at some of these just to digest some of these figures. 250 trillion total transaction volume. That's for Visa. 4.7 trillion adjusted transaction volume. And this is not on chain, correct? This is just Visa in general.
No, this is I think aggregate on chain data.
Oh, right. Wait. So this is for, okay, got it.
Yeah. And I know, by the way, or sorry, go ahead, Mark.
No, go ahead. I was just reading.
So I know that we're going to get into RWA stuff next, but an interesting point that I'd like to make is, but outside of the crypto realm, you have these on-chain assets that are generating yield in stablecoins, and BUIDL, which is BlackRock's money market fund that's on chain, is making their distributions in stablecoins. And this is really important because for the first time, you have distributions and dividends that are being paid to qualified purchasers, which are some of the biggest investors in the game, essentially institutions, but individuals. And you are giving them the ability to buy things with stablecoins and giving it to them on chain. So what they can do is they can go and take their proceeds from these assets and then go and invest them into other real world assets that are on chain, or they can take that and go and invest in cryptos or other digital assets like an Ethereum, like a Bitcoin. But it should be noted that the stablecoin they're being paid out in is USDC, which lives on the Ethereum blockchain. So.
Yeah, this is cool that Visa even has a site for analyzing this. Is interesting. And why don't we go right into talking about what Visa's doing here? Because that kind of explains why they have that platform.
Yeah, so very quickly, Visa is creating a tokenized asset platform that will allow different companies to create different fiat-backed currencies and fiat-backed tokens. So, and this is all happening on the Ethereum network. And essentially, what they're allowing people to do is, create their own on-chain ecosystems for these companies. I think a great example, not necessarily in the Visa world and what they're building, but you look at what Sony just did. They built their own ecosystem for gaming and payments and all of built on the Ethereum network. Which allows them to have their own almost closed off ecosystem of blockchain backed payments to benefit all of their users and just make things a lot simpler and less middlemen in terms of different applications that can plug in that can allow them to make payments. And I think that in-game payments, and I don't know the right term for this, but those are, I think that's the biggest revenue driver for gaming today.
Yeah, the microtransactions you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, to all the gamers out there, they know that EA was big on microtransactions, and the industry has beef with them now because that's what drives a lot of games now, right? People want true raw games like Space Marine 2 that just dropped with no microtransactions, where you got to grind to get all your skins. But we'll make another rundown about all the best games out right now.
No pay to win, bro. No pay to win.
Yeah. So last thing I'll say about this really quickly is they have big institutions that are backing this and that want to be using this. So I think it's BBVA, which is the Spanish bank, is going to be the first group that's really driving Visa's tokenized asset platform. It was very exciting.
Yeah, this is what institutional adoption looks like. It was kind of the narrative last cycle, but it's happening this cycle. It's funny how that works out sometimes. But this is kind of another example of that. Wisdom Tree, one of the leading alternative asset firms, they're launching a real world asset.
Yeah, and Wisdom Tree is really cool because they've been exploring tokenized assets for a while, and they're one of the multiple asset managers and private equity companies that are getting involved with tokenized assets. You look at what's going on with KKR, Hamilton Lane, some of the bigger names in the private equity world. Just like you said, Monty, this is what institutional adoption looks like. Institutions have clearly identified real world assets as a good use case for them to get involved in blockchain. So right now we're just scratching the surface. Some have launched money market funds. Some have launched, other assets on chain, but wait till we get to the trillions of dollars of assets, all of them being on chain and giving institutional investors the ability to work and pay and receive dividends and have ownership within all these blockchain ecosystems, mostly being built on Ethereum.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think it's important to just add in here that no one's forcing these institutions to do this. They're identifying how Ethereum or other blockchains introduce efficiencies that make their businesses better. And if you don't adapt and you don't make your business better, it's really hard to survive. And so this is a trend that I don't think is slowing down.
And I think it's just funny to note, we keep saying this is what institutional adoption looks like. Like, let's note how different this looks, versus when you have young, new money coming in, you'll see a bunch of bright, pretty NFTs and visuals and some cool special effects. And they'll probably put a total of a couple $1,000s in, versus all the old money, they'll drop some super boring WordPress article and that'll lead to, a couple $100 billion. So it's like, this is stealthy. This old money moves real stealthy. Like, they'll make some little announcements, and then next thing you know, there'll be trillions of dollars at the door. So you got to pay attention.
All this institutional adoption is making me very hungry. I think I'll need a crypto burger. We're gonna call these crypto burgers.
Crypto burgers? What's that? You're big on ground beef, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a big beef guy.
What'd you have for breakfast?
My good buddy Trump, he was at the crypto conference, and he was handing out crypto burgers. He said, "We're gonna call this a crypto burger." And then some virgin guy in the back, some virgin Bitcoin trader said, "They're actually called Bitcoin burgers."
So for context, this was at PubKey, which is a really cool bar in New York that Trump stopped by. They are Bitcoin focused. They serve beer. They serve burgers. Trump came in. He said, "Let me buy a Bitcoin burger or crypto burger." And if you look in the background and zoom in right over Trump's left shoulder, you see Anthony Pompliano looking like Secret Service.
Yeah, I thought that was Pomp for a sec. that is Pomp. That's awesome. I think he might own a part of that shop, I'm guessing.
That would make sense.
I know he started some Bitcoin pizza thing, maybe transitioned into burgers. Maybe I'm just misinformed. I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty cool, I guess. Real question though. My technical side is wondering, Bitcoin block time takes like what, an hour still? So how do you pay? If you're paying with Bitcoin, you pay and then you got to wait for an hour for your burger to come?
No, they use the Lightning Network.
Come on, dude.
Oh, dude. See, I don't pay attention to the boomer tech. That update probably dropped years ago.
Come on, dude. I thought you were a crypto expert. You don't even know about
Speaking of boomers, this is a great article kind of dropped by...
Oh, not Hogan. He's young, man. You can't do our guy like that.
Yeah. Well, he's a CIO at Bitwise, and he had a great anecdote today or this past week where he talked to a group of financial advisors, and in this group, a lot of the financial advisors themselves own Bitcoin, but they hadn't yet allocated it for their clients. as someone who previously worked in an RIA, that makes sense to me because they're generally risk adverse. They don't want to kind of blow up their client's account trading a new technology, especially one that has some negative, say, media coverage like Bitcoin. But this is also bullish in the sense that while the ETF has been approved, it takes time for financial advisors to market it, to get through all the clearinghouses, to get approved on all these platforms like Morgan Stanley or Merrill Lynch. And so the true adoption takes years, and even 8 months in or 9 months in, we have $60 billion in ETF assets on chain. And I think we're really just scratching the surface. So it's really exciting on where this is heading.
Yeah, there's also a custody issue of a lot of these wirehouses aren't allowed to custody Bitcoin or Ethereum. So, and obviously those would be the first two digital assets that a lot of these investors would touch that are RIA clients. So you have a couple problems. One, as you mentioned, Monty, a lot of the bigger RIAs backed by, the Merrills, the Morgan Stanleys of the world, they actually can't offer to their clients anything that's not available on their platform. So some of the banks have opened it up to the ETFs and, have made it a little bit more accessible. And that's really all that's available. When you look at some of the independent RIAs, most of them still are not touching crypto for their clients. And there's a lot of reason for it, but really there's a lack of education. Anecdotally, I speak to a lot of RIAs and wealth managers daily about this and are trying to change the sentiment around crypto and digital assets. And a lot of them either don't have the infrastructure set up to invest in these assets or just haven't taken the time to learn. I hear about it all the time. My clients ask me about it all the time. I'm very unfamiliar with the space. So it'll take time. But as the market starts to become more validated by other institutions, as different options become available on these platforms for RIAs that will allow them to actually invest in sovereignly held Bitcoin or Ethereum as opposed to the ETFs, I think that adoption will be driven like crazy. And it just goes to show how early we are in terms of adoption and in terms of ownership.
For
Yeah,
sure.
shouts out to Bitwise. Been following them for years, and they produce great research, and I'm sure they produce great returns as well.
So next up, we have how Ethereum may add value to your portfolio. So education is a huge part of adoption. So let's talk about it.
It's crazy to see Fidelity post this. We've really come a long way. I have not even seen this.
This is an example of that marketing, really, that we're talking about is, how do you market this to your investors, to retail investors, to people that actually would buy into the ETF?
Yeah, I mean, coming from the TradFi world, you see that they're adding all of these traditional metrics that, let's say, allocators understand, whether it's Sorrentino ratio, Sharpe ratio, correlation, compound annual growth rate, beta. It's really just taking a step back here. Fidelity, BlackRock, Bitwise, they've been selling products forever. They're great at selling products. And what they're going to do for really Bitcoin and Ethereum is position them in the marketing in a way that is digestible so it can be apples to apples to other products they additionally sell. That doesn't happen overnight, but this is examples of they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're doing the analysis, and they can make a lot of money off these products. And if they can, they are going to, and that helps all of us.
And Fidelity actually recommends a 3% digital asset allocation to their investors' portfolio, which is amazing. I never thought that we would have seen one of the biggest brokerages in the world recommending that their clients actually buy these assets. Really cool.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of institutional adoption this week, and that's huge. And I think our next topic is about growing Ethereum's ecosystem, and that's really what we're seeing happen in real time, especially because of the institutional adoption. So what is this chart here?
Yeah, I think one thing this shows the growth on L2, the kind of active addresses, and as you can see, it's hitting close to an all-time high the past 2 weeks. we touched upon this earlier, but it's really important to focus on metrics that actually matter. There's a lot of, let's say, metrics that can be gamed or fluffed. And so what we do at AB is try to distill ones that really show what we're looking for, whether it's good or bad. And layer 2 engagement is definitely one of them. It's showing Ethereum's growing. Ignore what you see on crypto Twitter. Ethereum's not dead, and it's hitting all-time highs. The roadmap's working, and it's the golden age of Ethereum.
Yeah, layer 2s are huge. I mean, I think layer 2s are where most of the trading's going to happen this cycle. I would say it's not wrong to say that's already the case, especially when it comes to traders, meme coins, the retail action. It's going to be on L2s.
Yeah, that's facts. I think the sentiment being down, if you're a good trader, you know that means it's time to buy. So that's what we've been doing. We're very focused on the base ecosystem. We're very focused on L2s. I tried to make a trade on mainnet today, and I can't believe that I really used to spend probably 20, 30 bucks every time I wanted to do something. I mean, it was second nature for many years. It was just natural to spend that much because that's just the cost to play. I mean, you know, when you're dealing with assets that are growing 10, 20, 100x, it's really not that big of a deal. But now, obviously, there's been more adoption. The volatility is lessening, but of course, the fees and the scalability is like a fraction of that. I mean, now you're paying cents. It's been one of the biggest arguments for other chains, for other L1s having big success, is that, you know, Ethereum will never grow because just the fees are too high. But that really does not exist anymore. So it's definitely exciting.
Think about how that has eaten into our returns and our funds returns.
Yeah.
Just it's going to be a world's difference.
Well, it all
it's going to be a
comes
world's
back.
difference.
It all comes back because ETH is a deflationary asset, right, guys? So it's all coming back one day.
Yeah, what's that ultrasoundmoney.xyz?
Yeah.
Is it .xyz? No, it's ultrasound.money.
Yeah.
Yep, there we go.
The most bullish site on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, the great comp here is that it gives you Ethereum compared to Bitcoin too. So any time frame, this is best since the merge, but that's why we're bullish on Ethereum.
We got one or two more here.
We're gonna talk about Aerodrome or what?
I think we touched on Aerodrome. We just hit extra. I think the main point of these kind of articles and kind of wrapping up on L2 growth is kind of, this is where we're spending a lot of our time right now. I'd say as a firm is looking into kind of the leading protocols on the ecosystem that are growing the fastest. And how you do that is you read the docs, you speak to the teams. You don't just click on the website and click give me your money. You kind of do more background research and get comfortable with it. And then from there, hopefully we make a lot of money.
Yeah, you got to go straight to the mouth of the fish and give it a big smooch.
Yeah.
To wrap up.
I don't read, I do. Okay.
Yeah, no, you need Dylan. I seen you've been smooching some fish here in Texas.
You just got to ape in. It's called aping in, buddy.
Look, guys, we don't know everything, but we sure are trying to find out. We're turning under rocks. We're doing a lot of research, and we're asking the right questions. And, you know, we want to help you guys ask the right questions. We want to give you the tools to succeed and to make some money on chain. So thank you for joining. Join us next time, advantageblockchain.com. You can find all of our resources, and we'll see you guys on the moon.
Yeah, and throw a like, comment, and subscribe while you're at it.
Yeah, please, guys, please. We need to feed our children. All right.
We need the algos to pick us up.